Hello friends. In this video, we will take a look at another lithium iron phosphate battery from the Humsienk brand, rated at 12 volts and 320 amp hours, which, according to the manufacturer, is capable of storing more than 4 kilowatt hours of energy. Why another one? I talked about the 12 volt, 100 amp hour model not long ago. You will find the link in the description under the video. I found an interesting use for it together with an EcoFlow power station. A different use is planned for the hero of this review, and today we will talk about its appearance and package contents, look inside the case, and examine the BMS board and the cells used. Then, using the capabilities of its smart BMS, we will connect it to Home Assistant and run a charge cycle to observe changes in its parameters. Unfortunately, in this video, I will not be able to perform a full load test and determine the usable capacity, because the inverter for it is still on the way. But as soon as it reaches me, I will make a second video in which I will talk about the inverter itself and test the battery. Before we begin, as usual, I ask you to like this video so that more people interested in smart homes and gadgets can find it, and to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so before. So, like the first battery, the hero of this review was shipped to me from the official store, whose warehouse is located in Poland. I would like to draw your attention to one point stated on the store's website. When placing an order, you need to enter your details in Latin characters. This time I also received the 12-volt version with a smart BMS, but already with 320 amp hours. I will leave links to both this and the previous version in the description. My promo code has already been added to them, giving a 6% discount on all products in the store. Considering that the battery is not cheap, this turns out to be quite a noticeable amount. By the way, the price includes delivery by Nova Poshta. For Ukraine, there is zero duty on lithium-ion batteries, so you will not have to pay anything else. The box is quite heavy, keep that in mind. Even if you can bring it home from the post office by car, you will still have to somehow carry it to the car and from the car, and it is very heavy. So I recommend finding some kind of trolley and not straining yourself. That is exactly what I did. By the way, at that moment an interesting thought came to me. Since I already had the app for connecting to the battery installed from the time of the kilowatt version, I made the first connection even before opening the box. In essence, this is an initial check that can be done right at the branch. The factory charge is 57%. Everything is packed well, just like the first time. The box is intact, without damage, and everything inside is also fine. The battery is fixed in place by 2 shock-absorbing inserts. Nothing rattles around in the box. The manual included in the package is universal for the entire model range. The same one came with the kilowatt version, and we will return to it a little later. There is also a quality control pass mark. The battery is not only heavy, but also quite large, 522 by 238 by 218 millimeters. The design is already familiar, if, of course, you watch the video about the 1 kilowatt version. The case shows the nominal voltage, capacity, maximum BMS current, and also that this is the Smart Edition, meaning with Bluetooth. The same applies to the fasteners. The package includes 4 M8 screws for the battery terminals. You choose the length depending on how you will connect to them. On the side there is a sticker that repeats the battery parameters, its serial number, part number, and date of manufacture, in my case, December 1st, 2025. The actual weight of my unit is 27.2 kilograms, which fully matches the declared value. Let me remind you that the kilowatt version turned out to be noticeably lighter than expected, but at the same time its real capacity was completely fine. There are 2 plastic handles on cables on the sides, and everything is quite convenient. Before carrying the battery, make sure that the plastic cable tips are secured in the handles. Otherwise, there is a chance that it will simply slip out of the hole, and you may feel the battery on your foot, which will most likely be very unpleasant. Let us return to the battery parameters. The maximum BMS current is stated as 250 amps, that is, at the level of 3 kilowatts. Here is the table from the manual with the parameters for this model. The recommended charging current is 64 amps. The maximum is listed as 250 amps, which directly contradicts the charge over current shutdown parameter of 210 amps. But in any case, it is better to focus on the standard current and calculate the charging time based on that. The discharge current is 250 amps, with protective shutdown at 300 amps, plus or minus 10 amps. There is a warning on the case that the battery must not be used as a starter battery for starting cars, and this is correct, because for gasoline cars the starting current is usually around 300 amps, and for diesel cars it is even higher, so the BMS will simply go into protection. I have already mentioned the kilowatt version so many times that it would be strange not to compare them. As expected, the hero of the review is significantly larger. In addition, they have different carrying handle designs and different positions of the power terminals. At the same time, the kilowatt version came with protective caps for the screws. They are on the right, while this one does not. A small but still a drawback. Since in this video I will not be able to show a full discharge test, I will at least show the disassembly. Keep in mind that disassembly breaks the warranty seal that connects the battery lid and case. But what will you not do for your viewers? Here I have already cut it. I will not claim that I have much experience disassembling battery cases. I had to improvise. The lid suffered a little, but only cosmetically. Functionally, everything remained fine. I thought it would be glued, but no, it is held on by clips, so everything went more easily than I expected. A view of the BMS and the wires that go to the external power terminals, for pieces for each, considering the rather large currents, this is very good. On the right and left, significant empty spaces were found inside the case, containing these sealing elements. They are not really fixed in any way and are simply removed from the case. Their job is to hold the battery assembly in the center. In fact, almost half of the case is empty here. The battery could have been made much more compact. On the other hand, it is an excellent place for a stash where no one will look. Next, all that remains is to remove the assembly itself, made of 4 cells. This side with the terminals, in normal use, faces one of the wide side walls of the case, and on top, as we saw, is the BMS board. For cells, whose terminals are connected by welded bus bars. Everything looks quite reliable. And the wire terminals from the BMS board are secured with screws. Whether this is good or bad, I cannot say, but at least if you want to replace the BMS, you will not have to solder anything. Based on the QR code scan results, the AI assistant provided the following information. The manufacturer is Baterotech, a fairly well-known one, although the rated capacity of the cells was identified as 314 amp-hours. But only a real capacity measurement, which I will perform as soon as my inverter arrives, will give an accurate result. Here is what else I managed to find about these cells on one of the battery sales websites. They are positioned there as grade A, with a claimed cycle life of 6,000 cycles down to 80% DOD. The weight of each cell is about 5.5 kilograms. With the help, once again, of my tireless AI assistant, I managed to find out that the BMS board is a Humsienk BMC 04001 with Bluetooth. A factory-made, not no-name board for a 4S assembly of lithium iron phosphate cells. Before moving on to Home Assistant, let me remind you that to connect to the BMS you need to download and install the Humsienk app, with which you can turn charging and discharging on and off, see the current battery state, charge level, voltage on each cell, temperature of the BMS power transistors, the MOSFETs, and the temperature of the battery cells, T1, as well as the current power and current. For charging the battery, I used the same charger as in the previous video, with a maximum current of up to 62 amps, but I will limit it to 50 amps. This is how the charging mode is displayed in the app. Power 664 watts, current 49.7 amps, slightly less than what the charger shows. Since there were no factory caps, I quickly came up with these from materials at hand, even matching the terminal colors. In the comments under the previous video, I was advised to look at the BLE BMS integration from the HACS Custom Repository Catalog. Let us check it. After I found it by name, the integration needs to be downloaded to the server. For the integration to work, Home Assistant needs to be restarted. This is normal. After the restart, the battery was found automatically. From the serial number, it is clear that this is the hero of the review. Next to it is another one, the large battery from a 15 kilowatt-hour inverter, another advantage of installing this integration. I connect to the battery. The process took a couple of minutes. Everything was successful, although only if the Bluetooth range is sufficient. On my server, I use an external USB adapter, which has noticeably better sensitivity than the internal one. There is quite a lot of interesting information here, from basic data such as charge level, voltage, and temperature, to operating mode and number of operating cycles. In my case, out of the box it showed 2, which is normal since the battery was tested at the factory, and the voltage difference between the cells is 2 millivolts here, a good figure. Now charging with the same current of 50 amps. The operating mode is shown as charging. The battery voltage has risen slightly, and the difference has decreased to 1 millivolt. The temperature is 23.5 degrees Celsius. Charging progress is 66%. The temperature has risen to 24.2 degrees. The voltage is slightly higher, and the voltage difference is again 2 millivolts. Now 83%. The temperature is rising a little, already 24.8 degrees. The voltage is unchanged for now. Only the amount of stored energy is increasing. The moment when 100% charge is reached, but charging itself is still continuing at full current. The temperature is 25.5 degrees. The voltage is 13.9 volts. Almost 4.5 kilowatt hours of stored energy is shown, and the voltage delta between the cells has increased to 6 millivolts. After that, the current consumed by the battery began to drop sharply until it fell to 0, after which the charger was turned off. What do we see here? The stored energy reading decreased slightly, by about 40 watt-hours, and the voltage is 13.7 volts. But the cell delta rose above 20 millivolts, which caused the problem sensor to trigger. Moreover, as can be seen from the graph, at the end of charging there was a sharp peak up to 80 millivolts, followed by a drop to 21, which is still above normal, as the problem sensor shows. After waiting for some time and seeing no changes, I decided to try something else. The very method I talked about in the first video. Connect it to the EcoFlow, to the XT60 port, for which I connected the same kind of cable. But in this case, I set the solar panel mode, not car charging mode, which provided higher consumption power, around 170 watts. Of course, this is not enough for a full test, but it is possible to check how the cells will behave. The result did not take long. Very soon the difference dropped to 17 millivolts, and the problem sensor turned off. Another option appeared here, the balancer. I found it in the list of entities disabled by default and decided to observe it, although I constantly see the state as off. While the battery is discharging, not only does the stored energy reserve decrease, but the voltage difference between the cells also decreases. Now it is 98%, and the system says that in this mode the battery can still work for more than 23 hours. After some more time, about an hour and a half later, the amount of stored energy decreased to 3.94 kilowatt hours, and the cell difference to 4 millivolts. At this point, I decided to disconnect the battery from the load and leave the tests until the inverter arrives. By the way, after some more time, already without load, the difference decreased to 3 millivolts. For better clarity, let us look at this as a graph. At the top is the voltage difference between the cells. The larger it is, the worse. At the bottom is the battery charge level. We can see that the delta peak coincided with reaching a 100% charge level, then dropped sharply. But the difference still remained above normal, more than 20 millivolts. But during discharge, the situation began to improve sharply and very quickly returned to normal. As they say, draw your own conclusions. For now, the information is incomplete, and it is too early to make a final conclusion. But at the level of initial familiarization, construction, and integration into a smart home control system, the impression is positive so far. I will separately note the fairly large amount of empty space inside the case, which could be used to store some valuables. Of course, I say this with humor, but every joke contains only a fraction of a joke. Special thanks to those who recommended the BLE-BMS integration to me. It is truly a convenient and practical tool, and in my case, it also detected the large battery of the apartment inverter. However, during operation it turned out that if the battery is connected through the integration, the app does not see it. It can be only one or the other. As for what I did not like, the sharp peak in the voltage difference between the cells at full charge. I will keep observing and will talk about it in the second part of the video with the inverter. That is all. I hope this video was interesting and useful for you. I would be grateful for your likes. They help promote the video on YouTube. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, Now is the time to do it right away. In the description under the video, you will find all the necessary links to the stores where you can buy the devices from the video, as well as to my social networks, Telegram channels, and the group for discussing smart home questions. Join us. It will be interesting. Thank you for your attention. See you next time, and peace to everyone.